Welcome back to Recap It. Today we are going to recap a 1909 crime drama movie titled Wild at Heart. After violating his parole for self-defense manslaughter, Sailor Ripley and his lover Lula drive down the highway to California, where they learn buried facts about each other. But before we begin, please consider subscribing to this channel. Now without wasting any further time, let's begin, shall we? At the start of the film, a couple named Sailor and Luna are at a party. On a stairwell, a black man assaults Sailor. Luna's mother, Marietta, has hired him as a killer. He grabs a knife, but Sailor disarms him and then smashes him mercilessly and thoroughly, seizing the man's hair in his palm and fiercely smashing his skull against the marble floor until the bones break and blood spatters, and the man is finally dead. For what he has done, he has been imprisoned. After 18 days, a plot jumps to 22 months. Marietta receives a call from Sailor, who has recently been released from prison. He dials Lula's number to speak with her. She answers the phone, then threatens him not to bother Lula again and hangs up. As Lula drives up the car, Sailor is waiting out front. They've been away for a long time and have rented a room. Lula pulls him over to her and kisses him softly on the lips as they begin to have sex. On the other hand, Marietta refuses to accept Lula's departure. So she hires a private detective named Johnny, her on-again, off-again boyfriend, to track down her daughter. Sailor adores Lula and will go to great lengths to protect her. Finally, they decide to flee to California, breaking Sailor's parole. She appears pleased to learn this. They go to the club before departing. Have a crazy party with your friends and dance hot with them. They're just having a good time. Later, they're back in their hotel room, making love once more. They each smoke and relate a story after having sex. Lula then looks away, as if recalling something. She informs him of her father's death by suicide. Her father doused himself in kerosene and ignited a match, engulfing himself in flames. They begin riding to California in the morning. Meanwhile, Marietta requests that Santos locate Lula because Johnny has yet to locate her. She requests that he track down Sailor and shoot him in the head. Santos makes a bargain, but there's a catch: he wants to kill Johnny as well. She doesn't even agree with him on that, but there's nothing anyone can do about it. Santos is on the phone with someone. He enlists Mr. Reindeer's assistance, locates Sailor, and murders him. Then Mr. Reindeer dispatches Juana to track down a man named Sailor. In their room, Sailor and Lula have just finished making love. Her left hand extends and stretches wide as she climaxes. "I swear, you got the sweetest body," she adds after laying quietly for a bit. Sailor and Lula are drinking at the bar. He tells her about a lady he ever loved, and the story makes her wet. She also requested that he return to the hotel as soon as possible. They have a lot of sex. He suffocates her with his body. She's too frail for him, but she appreciates every move he makes. Marietta dials Johnny's number. He questions her about it after she admits she'd done something awful. She isn't going to inform him over the phone. She resolves to inform him in person, and she travels to New Orleans to do so. Marietta arrives to meet Johnny, but she remains silent about what transpired the night before. She is pressuring him to locate Lula as soon as possible. Sailor and Lula are on their way to Texas. He tries to tell her the truth about her father, Clyde, who he knew. He used to work with Santos and would wait for him in front of Lula's house. He was simply waiting in his car till the entire building blew up in flames, which was the day her father died. Back to his hotel room, Johnny. Someone suddenly hits him, knocking him out. Johnny has taken Juana's place, and Santos has requested her to handle him. Johnny, on the other hand, is chained to a little wooden straight-back chair. His mouth is taped shut and he is gagged. Juana is a complete psychopath. She instructs his assailant to shoot him. And he's dead, his head bloodied. A sailor pays a visit to a residence. He meets up with his friend Chiquita and inquires about Santos, just in case he pursues him or if there is a contract to kill him. Although the woman claims she hasn't heard anything yet, Sailor should be cautious around Marietta and Santos. They'll go to any length to avenge her husband's death. They're sitting in the motel's courtyard at night, sharing a drink. Then a man named Bobby enters and approaches over to me. He pulls up a chair, pours himself a shot of whiskey, and inquires about Lula's age. 20, she responds, and he smiles. Before leaving, Bobby takes a gulp of whiskey. Bobby visits Sailor's room the next day, but he only encounters Lula. He requests her permission to use the restroom. He then starts pacing around the room, attempting to tease her. He invites her to fuck with him till he comes dangerously close to touching her V. He takes a step closer to her as she yells and begs him to stop. Cling to her hard until she's soaked. Bobby eventually smiles and slams the door behind her. Lula weeps in the meantime. Bobby gets into the car and drives down to buy a drink. Bobby proposes to Sailor robbing a store. He initially denies him, but later explains that the money will help him start his new life as a family. And he's fine with it. Bobby returns to find Chiquita later. He appears to have a contract to assassinate Sailor. Bobby and Sailor walk into the store just as they're about to start. Bobby points his sawed-off shotgun towards the two elderly guys behind the counter. Meanwhile, Chiquita is waiting in the car for them, and the cops approach her and ask her a question. Bobby grabs the shotgun and fires his weapon at one of the old men after tying the money bag. Chiquita becomes frightened and flees. Bobby is ready to kill Sailor when he notices the second elderly man hauling out a large shotgun of his own out of the corner of his eye. Sailor is willing to take a chance. During this time, a police officer fires his first shot at Bobby, causing his head to explode. Sailor is sentenced to 6 years in prison. He received a letter from Lula there. She stated that she is keeping and caring for their child. The story continues 5 years, 10 months, and 21 days later. Sailor is now unrestricted. Pace has come to find Lula and her son. He gets to his feet and looks down at Pace, who is still holding Lula's hand. "You must be my kid," Sailor adds, extending his right hand. They get into their car and go back to their house. She abruptly pulls over to the side of the road, turns off the motor, and exits the vehicle, crying. He is well aware that he has ruined her life by causing her anguish. So he resolves to stay out of her life, kissing Lula lightly on the lips before walking away and saying his goodbyes. And she tears up as she lets him leave. And this is where the movie comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, until next time.